are going to talk about getting lucky in business. All right. So, how do you spell luck? You spell it WORK. That's right. Because the harder you work, the luckier you're going to get. All right. So a couple quotes for you. We must believe in luck, for how else can we explain the success of those we don't like? All right. So how you increase the chances of Lady Luck shining on you in your small business every day? It can start with you changing your own thoughts and behaviors to get better results, right? So step one, you want to maximize each opportunity. Lucky people don't lock themselves in their office. They actually go out and look for additional possibilities to be able to make things happen, right? Tony Robbins is quoted as saying, "If you do what you've always done, you always get what you've always gotten," right? And we've heard Pam say that so many times, right? So many times, but it's so true. So be open to meeting new people and exposing yourself to new situations that can bring additional opportunities, but not only that, but also additional growth, right? We talk about, I had a friend and she used to refer to it as living on the edge of her comfort zone. And I loved that. And when the first time I heard her say that, I was like, and she probably got it from a book or training, but I just loved it. The thought of like living on the edge of your comfort zone. I talk about people talk about like, getting out of your comfort zone, and that they don't like the idea of getting out of your comfort zone because that implies that you're going to get back in your comfort zone, right? But I was looking to see if I had it. I probably do not. Oh, I do. I normally don't have rubber bands sitting around. But yeah, so a rubber band is a perfect example, right? So if you take a rubber band and you put it down and you draw a circle around it, and then you stretch it and 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 stretch it, it will never be that same size again, right? And that's your comfort zone, right? So if you think about it, if your comfort zone is like the rubber band, the more you stretch it and the more you challenge it and the more you do challenging things, right? And you expand your horizons, you expand your experiences through experiences and things like that, right? You're going to stretch your comfort zone, right? You're going to stretch it, and then it's never going to be quite the same. It's going to be expanded, right? And you're going to be expanded. You're going to change, right? You're going to change. You're going to, be a little braver, right? You're going to be a little bit changed. So, so yeah, so it's important to do that. So you always remember success happens when opportunity meets preparation. And I think about that all the time. That is one of my favorite like quotes, sayings, and things like that. And whenever I'm kind of like trying new things and I'm learning new things, I think about that. And I'm just like, especially because I can't think of how many times I take a training and there are bits and pieces of it that don't apply to me right there in that moment. But then down the road, I'm like, I'll be listening to something and I'm just like, okay, yeah, 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 this is all making sense because I know, I knew just kind of like a little bit of what they were talking about, right? Because of this training I took that didn't apply to my situation back then, right? But then I'm just like, I'm following. Yes, yes, yes. I know about that. I know about that, right? But I know enough to be able to keep up with the conversation, right? Because of a training I listened to a while ago that didn't have anything to do with me at the time, but now it's relevant, right? And that's really truly opportunity meeting preparation, right? Am I fully prepared? No, not 100%, but I'm prepared enough to have this conversation, right? And so you never know when that opportunity is going to present itself. So that's why you always want to be preparing. You always want to be sharpening that saw, right? So number two is to spread your risk. So don't bet the success of your business on one single action or decision. The more chances you have for success, the more times you can be successful. So learn what you can from the results and then take another action, right? That is one of the most important things. So many times people, they bank it all on one thing, and a lot of times here's what I hear. And if this is you, then just listen. There's no judgment and no shame. If I ever do a training and you feel like, whoa, she's talking to me, no, not necessarily. Okay, just think about it and think about, like, because I've definitely gone to trainings and I was like, that might be me, right? And it's okay. It's okay to shine a light on yourself and to look at yourself in the mirror and go, okay, do I like that? Do I like that about myself? Do I want to change? Right. Because, I heard a quote a couple, I don't know when it was a couple weeks ago, and they were asking, they were like, what's a quote that changed your life? And this woman said, if you don't change, it's a choice. And I was like, whoa, that is big, right? Because if somebody is if you're listening to a training and you feel like, whoa, does this person, like, are they watching me? Like, do they know that I do that? Right? That thing I'm not supposed to do they know that, right? If you think that, right, then if you feel like somebody's like looking into your soul, and you're like, right? But if you don't change, it's a choice. It's a choice to remain in that situation, whether that's an uncomfortable situation or it's a good situation, right? And so you want to make sure that you're doing that, right? And so you learn what you can from those results, and you take another action, because many times I'll be talking to somebody and they'll be like, I can't date any parties. Nobody wants to date parties. And I'm like, nobody wants to date parties. How many people did you ask? Well, I asked everybody. I'm like, everybody. That's a lot of bodies. So like, and I'm like, I know you didn't ask everybody, I'm like, and I felt that way too. And it's my husband will call me out on it. And I catch myself, because the first time he called me out on it, he's like, you're speaking in absolutes. You realize that, right? And I'm like, whoa, yeah. And he was just like, well, if you're speaking in absolutes, then it's most likely a lie. And I'm like, well, dang, I'm like, why you gotta be so harsh? But the people that love you the most, they're the ones that sometimes can be the harshest because they can, right? But they love you the most, and they want you to be your best, right? And so they do sometimes give you those harsh reality checks. And so now, since he said it to me a few times over the years, um, I catch myself, and when I catch myself speaking in absolutes, and it's funny because I had a conversation with my sister the other day, and we had the absolute conversation, and she was just like, yeah, I do too. Like, I catch myself speaking in absolutes, and I realize, like, yeah, that's probably not true. I'm probably just feeling overwhelmed right now, and I'm probably just, feeling disappointed, and that's why I'm speaking in absolutes, right? And so if you catch yourself speaking in absolutes, like, nobody wants to do a party, or nobody wants to buy from me, then there's probably are some people out there that want to do a party. You're just not finding them right now, and that's okay. That means that you need to learn what you can from those results and take another action, maybe go in another direction. So I remember there was a period of time I couldn't date a party to save my life, like, save my life. There have been many times that I have been in a rut where I couldn't date a party to save my life. And sometimes I feel like it's God's hand, right? He's like, kind of like, now's not your time, because and at one time something really big happened. Like, I went into labor like early. So there was a reason I couldn't date parties that week. Um, but but sometimes there's, something going on, right? And so I pivoted. I was like, you know what, maybe I'll focus on fundraisers for right now. So I really focused on the fundraising side of the business, got some fundraisers going, right? And then, what happened? Parties. Right? When I wasn't looking at the parties started happening. And then another time, like, I was like, okay, can't take parties right now, so let's focus on vendor events. So I started focusing on vendor events. You know what happened? Parties. So I have parties and vendor events, right? So sometimes you need to learn what you can from the results and take another action, right? So plan, do, review, right? And then do again, right? Plan, do, review, plan, do, review. That is what you need to do, right? Don't just throw your hands up in the air and say, nobody wants Tupperware. Nobody wants to do parties, because all you have to do is look at the recognition in Tupperware and see there are definitely people that want Tupperware, and there's definitely people that want to do parties. We just got to find them. No biggie. All right. We can do it. All right. So number 3 is listen to your gut. Developing an intuition is about honing a skill in a certain area to see patterns that others miss, right? It takes diligent practice over a long period of time. Listening to your gut, right? Listening to your gut about, various things. I listen to my gut all the time, and every time that I don't listen to my gut and I go against my gut, I've always regretted it. Even when I was in high school. Every time I didn't listen to my gut and I snuck out of the house, I got busted. Every time. Every time. Every time. And I should have known. So, but and it started so it started at an early age, and I know I'm joking about that, but seriously, I'm like, and so I started at an early age, like really like anytime my stomach, I'm like, oh, I don't know, something's weird, something's off, right? So listen to your gut. And I don't mean like that means you need to freeze. It means you just need to take pause and think, okay, well, is there something else I can do that might be better aligned with maybe my core values? Maybe it's your core values. Maybe you're out of alignment with your core values, and maybe that's what's causing the issues with your gut, right? And maybe you need to kind of make a few tweaks in your business that way, right? So just listen to it, pay attention to that intuition, and just be mindful of that. All right, number 4, don't get frustrated. Don't get frustrated. All right, stressful people tend to be tense and uptight, right? And they can seem desperate, and customers can smell this. This is so true. It can be critical for you to relax and not press too hard in almost every sales situation. So you heard me earlier, I said the words, let go of the outcome and enjoy the process. So, it was funny, when we were working on the BAM app with, Scott, at one point I was talking with him about it because he was talking to me about the boards. And since I was working on the boards, he was showing me what could be done as far as moving the boards over to his BAM app. And in that conversation, he very casually said that he was meeting with somebody who what is the president and owner of and founder of the Direct Selling Women's Alliance. And fun fact, that's how Pam and I met, was through the Direct Selling Women's Alliance. And he said, Nikki Kehoho is her name. And I said, oh, I said, I had a very pivotal moment in my life came from a conversation with Nikki Kehoho. I remember where we were sitting and all of this, right? And 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 one of the things that came out of that conversation was to let go of the process or let go of the outcome and enjoy the process, to the point because I was so desperate to have success in direct sales. Like we were going down in flames financially. And she shared with me a story of her life when they were desperate financially. And I was so honored that she shared such an intimate story of such a financial hardship in her life. And she shared that with me, and she said, and you have to let go because you're never going to get anywhere if you are constantly stressed about that money. And I was just like, but how? Like, how do I let go of that when it's like an albatross around my neck? And she said, you have to let go of the outcome and enjoy the process. So I pulled out my P-Touch labeler, right? And I made a label on my P-Touch labeler, and I put it literally across the top of my keyboard on my laptop. And we probably still own that laptop because my husband won't throw any electronics away. Don't get me started about that. I can pull it out, and it's tattered and broken in two. I think that one in particular because the kids slammed it. So, and it has on there, let go of the outcome and enjoy the process. So when I would make my phone calls, that's what I would do. And when I would come out of the office from making my phone calls, Eric would ask me how they went, and I would never tell him my stats. So when I was talking earlier about like, sometimes don't focus on like the numbers, right? The sales, like, well, my goal is to sell to $2,000 this month. Sometimes you focus on the activities, and that's what I had to do. And so I wouldn't necessarily talk about the stats. I would come out of my office and I'd be like, I had some really cool conversations. I talked to this girl who works for American Greetings, and she was telling me that her job is to put the glue on the envelopes or monitor the machine. And I would tell him about these cool conversations I have with people. I wouldn't tell him necessarily that they said no to a party. I wouldn't tell him necessarily like what the outcome of those conversations were, because I was really trying really hard to enjoy the process, right? And so sometimes that's what you have to do to keep from getting frustrated and to keep from being stressful. So if you are feeling stressful about this business, do whatever you have to do to enjoy the process. Maybe enjoying the process is being on these meetings, and maybe enjoying the process is finding a business building buddy where you two can challenge each other and just link arms and have a really great time in this business together, right? And maybe after our meetings, you guys have your own little happy hour and you discuss what went on in the meeting. I did that with Tabitha Brinkman. That's how her and I became friends, as we took a training together. And after we did the training, we would meet up on a phone call so we could dissect what we just heard and figure out how we could take what we just heard and apply it to Tupperware, right? And so that's how we really became friends. And so maybe that is something that will help you find the joy in this business, because when you find the joy, then you'll find the business. I promise you. So yeah, so number 5 is expect luck. Expect good things to happen. Expect the best. And this is coming from somebody whose motto before Tupperware was expect the worst and hope for better. Like literally, I said it all the time. Right? So expect luck, expect luck. People who think they're lucky and successful may have more of an opportunity for it to end up that way. This is because they optimistically focus on a victorious outcome. I love the word victorious. I think it's like victorious. It's such a great word. All right. So so Earl Nightingale is quoted as saying, we become what we think about, right? What we think about, we bring about. We've heard that turned into so many different quotes, right? What we think about, we bring about, right? So stay in your circle of influence. We have heard that so many times. Stay in your circle of influence. Concentrate on what you can control. I can't control the gas prices, right? When people complain about gas prices, I want to freaking scream. Like I literally want to scream. Like as soon as somebody says something about gas prices, my brain just shuts down, because otherwise I don't know what I might do. Because I'm like, what? Why are you complaining to me about gas prices? I can't do anything about gas prices. Complain to somebody who can do something. And I don't know who that is. So I don't know what to tell you. Right? I can't control gas prices. I can't control the cost of living. And, but you know what? I can't control if somebody dates a party, and I can't control other people's actions. What I can control is I control my thoughts. I can control my actions, and I can control my choices. And so that is where I live. And that is where you need to live. And if that means that you have to kind of walk away from some of those conversations to save, to kind of keep your peace, that's what you have to do. And you don't have to be dramatic about it. As much as I have this internal like vision of like my head exploding sometimes when people do things like that, it doesn't actually happen. I just kind of smile, and sometimes I'm just like, "Oh, you know what? I just remembered. Let me go grab something. I will be right back." Like, and I excuse myself from the conversation. I make up something. I'm like, "Oh, I have to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back." I just something. It's at my phone. It's at my phone. Oh my gosh, I gotta find a charger. Something. Right? Anything to get out of that conversation. Right? So lean into what you can control. When we were losing our house and we couldn't control the bank or the lawsuits, I could choose my response to it, and I still chose joy. So when we were losing our house, we had an appraiser that had to come to the house for the bank and all the other nonsense, right? So the appraiser knew why she was coming, and I knew why she was there. And the kids were little, and she came to the door, and I had the front door open, and so I was like, "Hey, hey!" And so I came to the front door. I was like, "Come in, come in, come in." And so I was like, "Do you want anything? So want some water or anything?" She's like, "No, no, I'm fine." And I was like, "Well, let me know if there's anything you need." I said, "I'm just gonna be in here with the kids." And I was just like, "Yeah, just let me know." And so she kind of wandered around. She asked a couple questions. Then she was finishing up. And so she's like, "Do you mind if I sit here?" And I said, "Oh, no, not at all." And so we just kind of started talking. Well, we got into this huge conversation, right? And at the end of it, she goes, I know why I'm here." And I was just like, "Yeah, I know." And she said, "And this is not what I expected." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And she said, "Well, I know why I'm here, and I know that the bank sent me, and I come into houses all the time. And a lot of times people are really mad and they're very mean to me." And I was like, "You're just doing your job. Why would I be mean to you?" I said, "It's not your fault that we're in this situation." And she's like, I know that." And she's like, your house is just so full of light and life." And I was just like, "Well, it's not my kids' fault." I was like, This is their home too," and I just like, I had to choose that joy every day, as much as there were times when it was breaking my heart and I didn't know what the future held. I didn't know any of that stuff, but I had to choose that joy. And so you always have a choice. as to what it is that what face you're going to put on and what your attitude towards that day or that situation is. And so choose wisely, because you're the one who is living with you, right? And so it's affecting you the most. And so you want to make sure that you're choosing wisely with that. So number 6 is optimize the bad breaks. So you will likely fail at some point in your life, right? I mean, maybe not. I mean, maybe you're just one of those people, just never fails at anything you do, right? So whether it is due to wrong actions, insufficient training, poor timing, or plain just bad luck, it isn't important, right? So what the key is to learn what you can from the failure right now, right? And you can have a pity party, right, for 24 hours if you must, right? But then let it go. You have to let it go and you have to move on. Take another action. You have to move forward and take another action that you can that can give you an additional chance of success, right? That is so key. You learn more from the losses than you do the wins. We know this. We know this over and over and over again. You learn way more from losing than you do from winning. So number 7 is use luck rituals. All right. I don't know if there's any science behind it at all, but you know what? There is nothing that hurts, right? There's nothing that hurts using a luck ritual, right? Get a lucky suit. Got a lucky suit or tie? You know, what about a lucky pair of socks? These seem to really work, especially for sports people, right? What these luck rituals can do is put you in a better frame of mind to expect and receive the luck and opportunities that come your way, right? They will change your vibe, and your vibe attracts your tribe, right? We hear it all the time. So, what are you putting out there? Like, what is it that you're putting out there? Because you have to be aware of that. There are times I'll be running errands and I'm like, everybody is so mean today. And if I and by the time I get to like the third store and everybody's being mean to me, I'm like, okay, the common denominator is me. So I need to take a look at me. Like, am I happy about it? No, but it is the truth. I am the common denominator. So I really need to like take a hard look in the mirror and be like, so what am I putting out there? Like, what's my vibe? Like, am I projecting like anger because I'm getting anger? Like, it's like, but just be honest with yourself, It makes no sense to lie to yourself, right? So when it comes to the business, one surefire way to get lucky in this business is through recruiting. So every time you recruit, you increase your odds of success, right? For every 10 you recruit, maybe one becomes a manager, right? So never prejudge. Our job is to educate. That is our job. Our job is to educate. So let go of the yes and just educate them on our business, right? Then stay connected to the ones that aren't ready right now, right? And just remember, the harder you work, the luckier you get.